gymnast is our next category, and what I'd call the lesser hypocrites. These are the people that are innocuous. You can point and laugh at them, mock them a little bit. They're really not so harmful to the political environment that we have here in America. We are talking about people who care more about reaching a goal than they do about how they reach the goal. In the book, I'm going to plug it again, Shooks, Crooks, Liars, and Scoundrels, a field guide to identifying political buffoons. We talk about the agenda gymnast as someone who has limited personal political capital, personal credibility. How they stake that credibility on the line with everything they do, and to the point where they become basically morally bankrupt and they become more of a hypocrite, and they turn into some of the more damaging buffoons that we're going to talk about as this Buffoon of the Year rolls on. And to me, pal, these agenda gymnasts who sort of dip, duck, dive, and dodge out of the way. I know you heard it. I know you heard it. I don't care.
You just got to get your mind out of the gutter.
Those that sort of maneuver and contort themselves here, it's now a greater degree of harm that these people can cause, right? Like Joe Biden saying, I'm not going to pardon Hunter.
I'm extremely proud of my son, Hunter. He has overcome an addiction. He's one of the brightest, most decent men I know. And I am satisfied that I'm not going to do anything. I said I abide by the jury decision, and I will do that, and I will not pardon him.
Your son Hunter is on trial, and I know that you cannot speak about an ongoing federal prosecution. But let me ask you, will you accept the jury's outcome, their verdict, no matter what it is?
Yes.
And have you ruled out a pardon for your son?
Yes.
One of our nominees, who's always going to be nominated, the White House Press Secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, tries to frame it as war politics, as a way to skirt the loss of personal credibility for the decision that was made.
He came to this decision this weekend, so let's be very clear about that. He says it himself, it's in his voice. He said he came to this decision this weekend. And he said he wrestled with this. And because he believes in the justice system, but he also believes that the war politics infected the process and led to a miscarriage of justice.
I think that's a prime example of the agenda gymnast.
Yeah, 100%. What's sad nowadays, Gene, is that, you know, in the past, you can easily identify a few people that would, you know, fit the bill. What's unfortunate today is, we'll use your example. Biden says he won't pardon Hunter. Okay. And then the mainstream media, specifically MSNBC and CNN, along with the other networks, parrot that, not just reporting that he said it, but then adding all these qualifiers. Joe Biden is such an honorable man. He believes so much in the rule of law, and he has so much faith in the justice system that he won't even pardon his own son.
Our current president of the United States has so much respect for the law that he has said he would not pardon his son. I mean, again, it's all about the contrast.
He is not pardoning his son, which he could do. These are federal charges. Right. He is not doing that. He is not doing it because he is living what it means to have a rule of law in this country. Yeah. And if you want to know if he believes it, you could actually see what is happening with his own son.
There used to be like only a handful of people you throw in here, the propagandists for their party or their elected official. But now it's like the entire media, the leftist media, falls into this category, right? They're all doing yoga or whatever you do in gymnastics to try and make this guy seem coherent or honorable, or this administration doing the right thing, or cutting off the testicles of 10-year-old boys because they think they're girls is okay. Like, the gymnastics is insane nowadays.
Yeah, and there's so many more of them. It's exponentially grown because we live in a society now. I'm going to say long. We live in a society where everyone must be right or canceled. And I'm not saying right being right side. they can never admit being wrong. Being wrong is a sign of weakness. And in a political system where there is no truth but power, being wrong on something and admitting that is a cardinal sin now. It never used to be this way. This is maybe the most egregious example to me. Let me show this nominee off right now.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony that you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation.
The Secret Service is under intense scrutiny following the attempted assassination of Donald Trump.
Oh, this could get ugly.
Director Cheadle, in your leadership, your agency got outsmarted and outmaneuvered by a 20-year-old. How can we have any confidence that you could stop trained professionals from a nefarious nation state?
Those are absolutely questions.
What kind of an answer is that?
Was this a colossal failure, yes or no?
Yes.
Director, I just want to give you an honest assessment of how this is going for you today.
You fucked up. You fucked up big time.
I have no idea how my statement got out.
Well, that's bullshit.
Day just keeps getting worse and worse.
Your horrifying ineptitude and your lack of skilled leadership is a disgrace, and you should be fired immediately and go back to Garden Doritos.
Yeah, the former Secret Service director, Cheadle, she couldn't explain anything. And that is worse than trying to worm your way to the goal of keeping your job.
Bro, how great was that first answer? Those are absolutely questions. Yeah, bitch, we just asked you them. Like, we want the answers.
Exactly. What am I supposed to do with that?
Oh,
people. That is someone who is trying to worm their way out of responsibility, even though she was saying, I take full responsibility. And it turns out the Secret Service still hasn't really given us a straight answer on how a 20-year-old kid ended up on a rooftop and got shots off at the once and future president of the United States.
No, the story's over. That's it. We'll never hear what happened to those supposed explosives in his car or where he got, the intel or, none of it. We'll never hear the end of that. That's it. It's over.
Please disperse. Nothing to see here.
No, but everyone took accountability. It's just that we don't know what the accountability is.
Yeah. And thankfully, like some of the other nominees, like Cheadle is going to be a footnote in history. No one's going to, I barely remember her name myself until, I saw the qualifier next to it. Yeah. Former Secret Service director. All right. She was a loser. She was a security for Doritos or whatever she was before she became Secret Service. I know she was an agent once upon a time, but utterly unqualified, a DEI hire, textbook example. Footnote in history, garbage. Agenda gymnast, sure.
I gotta say this, Nancy Pelosi is one of the most irredeemable people to be nominated for such a low category ever for Buffoon of the Year. Depending upon the day of the week of when you were talking to her, she was always trying to justify a decision, whether it would be supporting Joe Biden or supporting Kamala Harris and throwing Joe Biden under a bus, or then explaining why Kamala Harris ended up losing and blaming Joe Biden.
Had the president gotten out sooner, there may have been other candidates in the race. The anticipation was that if the president were to step aside, that there would be an open primary. And as I say, Kamala may have, I think she would have done well in that and been stronger going forward. But we don't know that. That didn't happen. We live with what happened. And because the president endorsed Kamala Harris immediately, that really made it almost impossible to have a primary at that time. If it had been much earlier, it would have been different.
For what he did. Here's here's one example of, this is Nancy Pelosi talking about how great Joe Biden is early on in the campaign.
I say to the candidates, do whatever you have to do. Just win, baby.
Oh, I forgot about that part. Just win, baby. She actually said that as her philosophy for candidacy. So that basically means go wherever the hell you want to and wherever the hell you need to go to. As long as you win, it's all good. Just going to go back to the clip and now let Ross react.
I say to the candidates, do whatever you have to do. Just win, baby. She lies. There are those who have real legitimate concerns about immigration, globalization, innovation, and we have to address those concerns.
Don't give me campaign promises, give me results.
And Joe Biden is doing that, created 9 million jobs in his term in office.
But check your facts.
It's fair to say the stimulus helped with job growth, but Biden exaggerated its effects. And that's why the Truth and Meter rates his claim mostly false.
Wrong again.
Donald Trump has the worst record of job loss of any president. So we just have to make sure people know.
That was a global pandemic.
Gotcha, bitch.
He had the worst record of any president.
Shut up, Pelosi.
America. Welcome to the eulogy. Eat it up. It's called political buffoonery.
Nancy Pelosi's philosophy going on friendly media was to repeat the same lie over and over again, and hopefully it sticks with them. But that was actually a random act of journalism that we saw. I think that was from MSDNC, where they kind of pushed back on the half-truth of job growth comparing Biden and Trump. Nancy Pelosi she's irredeemable.
100% irredeemable, right? And she's lost it. She never had it. Like a lot of these people never had it. She comes from a very safe district in San Francisco. But as she's gotten older, by the way, she's 84 years old, and she just announced that she's running for re-election again. Like it's insane, Gene. 84 years old. She's an old hag. Let's be brutally honest. She's a bitch, right? She's a bitch. When she ripped up the State of the Union, when President Trump gave the State of the Union, that to me was like nail in the coffin. She's dead to me. Like she needs to step aside. She's too old and senile to be on the stage. She gave up her leadership position. She's not even the Democratic leader in the House of Representatives anymore. Hakeem Jeffries has that role as minority leader and will likely be the next speaker if the Democrats, God forbid, ever get the majority there. But, and what she did with January 6th and the impeachments, like she's done so much. I know a lot of that stuff wasn't this year, but yeah, the reason why I always have a problem with these shows, Gene, for all the years we've done them, is because Buffoon of the Year sounds like cute and funny, but at these people's core, they're evil. Like Nancy Pelosi is an evil bitch, right? There's no redeeming quality. There are people locked up in jail right now for the crime of trespassing when they didn't even know they were trespassing on the Capitol on January 6th. Years later, they're locked up. Their lives are ruined. All because of Nancy Pelosi. And then she had that sham committee that she put together with Liz Cheney and a bunch of other deviant folks. I'm sorry to go off on a rant, but she's an evil bitch. And again, agenda gymnast. Sure, no, she is. But she's old and she's a bitch.
Well, let's think about just this year alone, because there was some J6 news about Pelosi that came out this year about her refusal to call for additional National Guard. That video came out showing how she was claiming that she's responsible for that.
We have responsibility, Terry. We did not have any accountability for what was going on there, and we should have. This is ridiculous. You're going to ask me in the middle of the thing when they've already breached the inaugural stuff that should we call the Capitol Police? I mean the National Guard? Why weren't the National Guard there to begin with?
They thought that they had sufficient resources.
That is not a question of how they had. They don't know. They clearly didn't know, and I take responsibility for not having them just prepare for more.
That didn't come up during her committee, that select committee that was created.
Her daughter was filming a documentary during the whole thing, and she's on tape saying that stuff.
Yeah, and by the way, we haven't even really talked about how she was the hatchet woman that took out Joe Biden.
It's time.
Well, you know what?
Have you talked to him? Is my only question.
What I have to do.
Right.
He made the decision for the country. My concern was not about the president; it was about his campaign. As he has seen the exuberance, the excitement that has come forth in our country.
Nobody is questioning the fact that the Democratic Party seems much better positioned right now than it did 4 weeks and 2 days ago. There's no question about that. Former Speaker Pelosi.
So why are we even talking about it?
She's had a very busy year for not being in the leadership, But there's leadership and then there's shadow leadership. And Nancy Pelosi, as Speaker Emerita in the Democratic ranks, will always be the person behind the throne because she commands the donor class of the Democrat Party as well. Because she was Speaker, she had to raise money across the nation for different candidates. So she has access for decades now to the donor class out there, not to mention her own stock portfolio that has gone through the roof since she's been in office. You know how long Nancy Pelosi's been in office? I interned in Congress in the summer of 1997. You know who was in the leadership back in 1997 when I was a college student interning there? Nancy Pelosi.
Jesus Christ. Yeah.
So,
so Democrats, if you're listening, the person who initiated a coup to get rid of old man Joe Biden, who is 82 or 81, is an 84-year-old from San Francisco who's also senile. That's who your shadow government is. Like, wake up, Democrats.
I got to bring back one funny one. We talked about Karine Jean-Pierre. John Kirby also was a spokesperson during the Biden administration. Yes, we're talking past tense now because these people are on their way out anyway. This has got to be one of my favorite short videos I ever created. I don't know if you saw this one, pal. Check this out.
Why should we believe anything that this administration tells us about anything ever again?
Ladies and gentlemen, a tap dance.
I think we all recognize, and I think the Pentagon has been very, very honest with themselves about the challenge to credibility by what has transpired here and by how
spit it out.
How hard it was for them to be fully transparent with the American people. I think we all recognize that. And
You're saying the quiet part out loud.
It's up to you and your colleagues, and it's up to the American people to determine, how much they're going to ascribe what happened here to our credibility on every single issue.
I don't even remember what he was talking about, but that typifies agenda gymnastics. It's again the humana that we saw before.
Yeah, and I mean, John Kirby is an especially egregious embarrassment to the military because he was an admiral, don't you know? So Admiral John Kirby sold his soul and became a spokesperson for the Biden administration. And he didn't initially give those briefings on a somewhat daily basis. And I know we're going to talk about her in a minute, but our next nominee, it was so inept at her job and so untrustworthy and spoke in riddles so terribly that they had to dust off old John Kirby and bring him out to the podium to speak on anything having to deal with national security. And even though it was always vague what he was saying, you can tell that none of that was coming from Joe Biden, right? I don't know who was telling John Kirby what the position of the United States was having to do with foreign policy, but it damn sure wasn't Joe Biden.
Well, you know what, Cal? I just looked it up because I had to go back into my own reel of stuff that I have here. That was about Defense Secretary Austin going MIA for that week. You remember that?
Yes.
That's what he was trying to explain away. And it just adds to this legacy of this administration of half-truths, lies, shading the truth, and just trying to force an agenda on people without having to explain what the hell they're doing. Who's the other nominee that I'm missing? I thought we hit on all of them. I'm going through my list here. Did I miss
Queen
one?
Bee, KJP.
Oh, yeah, we talked about her.
Queen Bee, KJP.
You know, I feel bad for Karine Jean-Pierre. You know why I feel bad? Because she's also a victim of the Biden administration and telling lies. She's the one that was out there the whole time denying that Hunter Biden was going to get a pardon.
Second one, would the president pardon or commute his son if he's convicted?
So I've answered this question before. It was asked of me not too long ago, a couple of weeks ago, and I was very clear, and I said no.
Okay. Let me go back to the first question of the briefing. I know you said not a lot's changed since yesterday and that it's a personal matter, but from a presidential perspective, is there any possibility that the president would end up pardoning his son?
No.
Again, you've also said several times that the president would not pardon or commute the sentences for his son, Hunter. I just want to make sure that that is not going to change over the next 6 months. The president's saying he would not.
It's still a no. It's still a no.
It will always be a no.
It's still a no. It will be a no. It is a no, and I don't have anything else to add. Will he pardon his son? No.
Just to follow up on the pardon question, is a commutation also still off the table?
For who are you talking about? Oh, no. No, I mean, we're not, that's not what we're going to do.
So you had said on Air Force One that the president would not consider a commutation of his sentence.
Yeah, that
You're saying that still stands?
Yeah,
okay, great.
And apparently she was lied to as well. Why didn't she just quit right then on the spot and save her own dignity?
Well, where is she this week? She took the week off, apparently. I know Biden's overseas, but where is the press secretary? Because I'm dying. Is she going to call on Peter Doocy to ask a question when she finally resurfaces? Because the pardon question is going to be the only question that people are going to want to talk about, unless they, some false flag shit happens between now and the next press conference. Inquiring minds want to know. You told us there was no way in hell. Now you're telling us that the Biden DOJ is politicized and corrupt and goes after their political enemies? The Biden administration DOJ? Is that because that's what Biden wrote in his pardon statement? So, I'm dying to see what KJP is saying. If she had any integrity left, which she has none, she's an alumni of MSNBC, right? She has none. If she had any, she would resign, but she won't.
Yeah, I don't get why. Because she was played. She was absolutely played by her own people. Karine Jean-Pierre, I give press secretaries a little bit of grace because they have a job to do, and that is to spin and do these agenda gymnastics. That's what they're paid to do. So while I understand it's a job, some embrace it more than others. And I think that Karine Jean-Pierre embraced this job a little too much to the point where it felt like Peter Doocy from Fox News was just owning her left, right, and center all the time.
Yeah, and I mean, I give them some deference too, Gene, but don't forget, the press secretary is the title we use in this country. In most other countries around the world, they call them what they are. They are the
propaganda.
Yeah, ministers of propaganda, and that's what she is, 100%. They all are, but and her job is especially hard because she has someone who is literally demented and supposedly running the country. So yeah, I don't know how you could do that job, but you resign. Like if you had any intestinal fortitude, you resign.
Absolutely. So we ran through my nominees, and we got one more category to go through. Do you have anybody you want to add to this rogues gallery of agenda gymnasts?
I don't want to add, but I just want to make an honorable mention, just in the spirit of fairness. Brother Sean Hannity, a little bit of a gymnast himself.
Okay, go for it.
He's almost unwatchable. No, I mean, look, he's almost unwatchable. Every once in a while, I do need a dose of Sean Hannity when I'm down in the dumps, and I know he's going to be a cheerleader for whatever the right or the Republicans are doing. But he's like a Lindsey Graham guy. He's anything Republican, he's with it. So like honorable mention, he's nowhere near the same league as a John Kirby or a KJP or a Nancy Pelosi or Director Cheadle, but he gets an honorable mention.
I want to add one more, and I don't know if this necessarily qualifies as agenda gymnast, or if it qualifies as when being an agenda gymnast goes horribly wrong. And I gotta nominate Sonny Hostin from The View.
That's pretty bad. And
I think that the clip that we put out, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, which, by the way, when I put out these clips, I put them out on YouTube, on Twitter, on different outlets. This is one of the most watched clips I put on Getter, one of the alternatives out there to X. Let me just show you what I'm talking about here. You're going to be on camera for this one, pal, so don't laugh too much. If you want to lean to the side where the blinds are, you'll be seen.
How
so here we go.
Could you nominate someone with allegations of child trafficking trafficking across state lines?
Don't go there.
My understanding, further on in the interview, they discussed the fact that once he finds out that she's 17, he stops having sex with her.
You're on thin ice, counselor.
I'm deeply disturbed at the lack of judgment that we are already seeing from the president-elect.
A few moments later.
You got in trouble. You got in trouble.
Matt Gaetz has long denied all allegations, calling the claims, quote, invented.
It looks like you're in a hostage video.
And saying in a statement to ABC News that this false smear following a 3-year criminal investigation should be viewed with great skepticism. That DOJ investigation was closed with no charges being brought.
That's gotta hurt.
Love it.
She's a lawyer, don't you know?
Oh my God. The face, the hostage video. She was trying to get over as like she's an expert. She can also be a BS buffoon if we wanted. A lot of these buffoons are hybrids. They go in and out of different categories. So yeah, man. The worst.
That was bad. That was pretty bad.
But that's the agenda. That's the agenda gymnast right there.
It's the whole show on that one, though. That's like a tough one.
Yeah. You know what? It will be a whole show when I cut it up and make it a on-demand video. You'll see it real soon.